So simply going to reattach it to that same symbol, and it got my description. And at this point here, I'm going to add a manufactured information. So we see here that we have 4 circuits. That symbol specifies that we need 4 circuits here. So I'm going to select the proper motor. And the system always provides me the last selection that I made in that panel, so I can always go back and pick from the existing list of suppliers. So let's keep this, and we see here that we have 139 elements. So we can focus on the proper component very quickly by typing a substring of the component that we're looking for. So now we're down to 66, and that's the one I want to use. So by selecting a component, it's showing us that the circuits will be satisfied. So the symbol turned green, so that's good. And now we have the metadata information associated to the manufactured part. And we can also see this into our diagram. And if we go back to SolidWorks, we also see that M5 just showed up. And we see our description, and we have the manufactured information also. So at this point, I can associate this motor to the solids that I just added. So as you can see here, we have a fully multi-user environment, and all this can be done at the same time on different computers. Good. So now we're going to continue to add the components. So I'm looking for a symbol here, but the library can have a lot of components. So I can create my own reusable palette here and even use a search to say, I'm looking for symbols that are related to 3-pole systems. So now I have my all my symbols related to that type of systems. So I can very quickly here drag and drop those components, and I'm going to associate this to my existing Q4 that I see in my diagram. Great, we have all the information about the manufacturer's part. So yes, go ahead and say copy and paste on this guy here, so a lot quicker. And I'm going to associate this to my contact K4. Great. So now what I want to do is create my terminal strip. And we see that X1 is already being used, so we have multiple terminals here. We see it here, and we also have some on the other sheet. So let's simply add components to my terminal strip and associate this to X1. So now it knows that it's going to start at 21. That's good. Let's look at our existing terminal strip here. So the system is showing us that we have multiple cables associated or connected to it. We have some wires, our wires for M5 here, and our new terminals are not, they don't have a manufactured part allocated to them yet. So let's select those and simply assign a manufactured part. And again, it offers me the last one that I picked, so that's very handy here. So I'm going to use the 201 for those 3 here, and this one I want to have a different one here with the different color in my assembly. Great. And we're now going to assign those cores because that motor is very far in our assembly and it's going to be connected using a cable. So let's simply assign the cores, and this cable will be connected from my main electrical panel to my L4 location. So now we see that W10, there's different color here, so it's indicating that W9 is already connected or associated. W10 is available, so we're going to use this one to associate the cores and use those cores. Great. So now the new symbols. And I want to reproduce this terminal strip in a drawing. So I'm simply going to click this button here, and the system will automatically create a drawing for my terminal strip. Imagine doing this in a conventional system with blocks and lines and move and copy. This is done automatically. Great. I now need to provide power to my PLC, but I know that I already did this kind of diagram in my previous or my other sections of my project. So I'm simply going to reuse this information using our reusable elements here. So I simply have to select the existing geometry and drag and drop into my user interface here. And the system creates reusable elements that are now available to all the users across the network that are using SOLIDWORKS Electrical. Great. So now I'm going to simply reuse it by doing a drag and drop. So now it reused the Q11, the next number, so I'm going to associate this to my existing Q6 that we saw in our single line diagram, and also associate this to my T1 terminal, existing terminal, or transformer, sorry. Great, but now where will this power be delivered? I have no way of knowing here. I need to add the origin of this. So simply going to select my wire, and it knows all the information about this wire and only allows me to select that wire. Good, it created the connection. I'm going to do the same thing with the other wire, and that's done. Good. So now I have some go-tos here that will bring me to page 7 on row number 1. This one here is located on page 5 at row 11. So I can very easily go to the proper page where this wire is connected. And this one, 0511. So we can see here our IOs for my or PLCs, so we can go and continue to walk the design here and see all those circuits. And we see here the cross-reference of components is also maintained here on the drawing. So we can see here that K1 is using those 3 circuits, and the last one are available. And we can also see this using the symbol properties. So we see that the 4 are connected and the last one is available. So far we've concluded our design, full schematic, but we're missing something very, very important. If I go to my project and look at my report, the lengths of all the wires and cables are not calculated. I have all the information. I don't have any wire number. Oh, we can do this. So we need to obtain the length of our wires. So first let's simply go to our process and assign numbers to our wires very easily. So now we can see that the system did this automatically, and we can see our reports being updated live. So now we have all the wire numbers. Good. So let's toggle to the 3D space and we'll go back to our enclosure. Now we see that M5 is inserted. That's good. And we can go in our location that represents the chassis here, and we have a bunch of objects already inserted, and we're going to go ahead and insert our terminal X1. I'm going to insert this as a terminal strip, and it's asking us to position the first component of that terminal strip, and now it's asking us the distance between each terminal. So we're going to accept the default 0, and it's inserting the components and creating mates between the components. That's good. We have existing components already inserted in our assembly, so let's focus on the one that need to be inserted. So we're going to insert this entire group here, and I'm going to position that transformer right in the middle and locate the first one. And as you can see here, it's using smart mates to locate the components on the rails automatically. And we're going to put here ½ inch distance between each components. So very quickly we can see that we can build 3D layouts of electrical components without knowing a lot of things about SolidWorks. We don't need intensive knowledge of how to operate SolidWorks CAD to create the electrical components. So it's very easy. It's the ideal tool for electrical specialist to create valid 3D layout of control panels. And those components can be moved around all at the same time. That's good. We see here that we're missing a little light. If I refresh this, we can see that in our the door here, we're missing a light. So we can simply insert this one. So the system is offering us a location. So I'm simply going to hit the tab to change the orientation. And what is interesting here is that I see a smart component. So I can simply click the star, and it's asking us to select the proper face to locate that light. So I'm going to select my door right here. That's good. And what the system just did for me is automatically created the hole to locate my little light. So imagine you do this automatically here, and you don't have to figure out the physical location of the holes. We just have to locate the electrical components, and SolidWorks will do this for us. Okay, so let's route our wires. So we're going to specify 1 millimeter between each wire. I'm going to use a 3D sketch route using splines. So very quickly, SolidWorks Electrical will look at the 2D schematics. We'll look at the 3D space defined in SolidWorks Electrical 3D, and we'll look also at the connection for every component and define the 3D routes. And also, it will consider the wire ducts here and will route the wires according to this. We have a tool called segregation that can help us define where every type of wire will go in our control panel. So we can say, well, this high power wire can be excluded from that wire duct. Good, so now we see our route with all the devices. Very quickly we got a valid. So let's look at our main electrical enclosure from the front, and we can see all those wires. Okay, so now let's route the cables to our motor. So for this time I'm going to use a SolidWorks route to get it real solid.